right, Basement Tapes 79, and I promised in true 1950s Tops fashion, where card from card, they would lead you along to the next set. This is an interesting one. I consider it a historic set. Uh, and there's many reasons why, and we're going to talk about the 1959 Fleer Ted Williams collection. Interesting set, interesting player, interesting history here. Tops, of course, enjoying a monopoly for a few years here from 56, 57, 58. And in their mind, they went to bed at the end of 1958 thinking they were okay. But in comes Fleer out of that rough and tumble area of the country we call Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and a little bit of a disruptor. And this would, this is me editorializing, but this would have an impact on the hobby for decades. Of course, Fleer tried for years and years and years to attain a card license. They would eventually sue Topps and the Players Association, or the MLBPA as it's called, for the rights to produce cards. They would produce some cards along the way of contemporary players, and this is an example of that, and not so contemporary players. The next year would be an example of that. But 63, of course, we had Fleer competing with Topps. And then in 1981, it all broke loose. Fleer would have win. Here's the funny part. Fleer sued the MLBPA and the MLB people in the 70s, claiming unfair competition, monopolies, all that stuff, antitrust. And boy, I'm really going on a tangent here, but they would win that right to distribute cards later on. I think it was in 1980. And then they would distribute cards in 1981. And then apparently make a lot of money for the Players Association along with Don Russ and Topps. And then oddly, the Players Association and MLB would countersue or appeal the 1980 judgment. And oddly, after putting a lot of money in the Players Association coffers, the MLBPA found themselves in the unenviable position of suing the people that were paying them a lot of money. Or appealing or countersuing, whatever. So very interesting, twisted history. Let's get back to 1959. Ted Williams, of course, 54, 55, 56, 57, and 58 would produce Topps cards or be on Topps cards. 54, he made a brief appearance for Bowman. 52 and 51, I believe. Here, 51 and 50, he was on Bowman as well. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of old Teddy ball game. Of course, he was on play ball cards, all that stuff. So 59 Fleer, Ted gets his own dang set. And I have 32 of these, and it's not enough, truth be told. I started collecting these things in the early 80s, and I think I still have all the ones I had. I bought in an auction, in a real live auction where you go into a ballroom and you compete against other people. I bought probably a 8 or 9 pocket sheet of these cards way back when. Again, now I have 32 of them, and let's learn a little bit more about these cards. Apologies for the monologue, but I'm a little passionate about sports cards. 80 cards, average value $31.63, $2,530 total value. A set of these will cost you between $900 and $1,500, according to Beckett OPG. Of course, it's not that simple. So let's read about Teddy's 1959 Fleers. The cards in this 80 card set measure 2.5 by 3.5. The 1959 Fleer set, with a catalog designation of R418-1, portrays the life of Ted Williams. The wording of the wrapper, that's rapper with a W, baseball's greatest series, has led to speculation that Fleer contemplated similar sets honoring other baseball immortals, but chose to develop instead the format of the 1960 and 61 issues. These packs contain either 6 or 8 cards. The packs cost a nickel and were packed 24 to a box, which were packed 24 to a case. Card number 68, which was withdrawn early in production, is considered scarce and has even been counterfeited. The fake has a rosy coloration and a crosshatch pattern visible over the picture area. The card numbering is arranged essentially in chronological order. So even Ted in his own set couldn't quite uh, get out of this unscathed. Card 68 featuring him signing or re-signing. Let's see here. We'll learn more about that in a second. Signs for 1959. Pulled because they did not have the rights to his partner there. Who was his partner? I don't know. But anyway, did not have the rights to the gentleman, Bucky Harris, I guess. And anyway, so that card ended up getting pulled. Let's go to TCDB. Sorry about that, Bucky Harris and all those who follow him. I had a momentary brain lapse there. 1959, Fleer, Ted Williams, 80 cards. Teams represented are the Boston Red Sox, the Minneapolis Millers, the New York Yankees, the San Diego Padres. So Red Sox, of course, the Millers were his minor league team. I don't know whether that was Double-A at the time, but he crushed it there. New York Yankees, obviously big foe of the Red Sox, and the Padres were his PCL team. Hall of Famer cards, there's 80 of them, oddly enough, because Ted Williams is featured on all of them. So let's look at the packaging. Wow, man. If you have this package, you are sitting pretty because it is gorgeous. A nice picture of Ted superimposed inside of a baseball. The wonderful Fleer crown logo there, baseball's greatest Ted Williams series. The packs also pretty gorgy. And Ted just looks great. He's smiling. He's happy to have his own card collection. And this would be a one and done situation. Of course, Ted would retire after the 1960 season, hitting a home run and driving off into the sunset. But this was kind of the crowning achievement of a very colorful career. Started in the 30s, ended in the 60s, punctuated with 2 stints in the war stuff, and the greatest hitter that ever lived, the man who should have several more MVPs, Theodore Samuel Williams. Trivia questions here. This is Fleer's first released sports card set since 1923. I think that's been debunked. I think that there was something in the early 30s that was kind of low key that's been discovered recently, but maybe I can be educated on that. Fleer signed Ted Williams away from Topps to make this set. Fleer had to halt production on card number 68, featuring Red Sox GM Bucky Harris, because he was under contract with Topps. That's Bucky Harris being under contract. This set is often regarded as Fleer's first sports card set. However, this is not correct. Fleer had a 1923 baseball offering as well. Counterfeit examples of card number 68 have been produced and can be distinguished by a crosshatch pattern and pinkish hue on front. That looks like either Beckett took that from TCDB, or most likely somebody from TCDB took that from Beckett. Let's go to the gallery, shall we? 80 cards. Ted starts out in the early years. He's wearing a nice pair of clam diggers there. And let's read from that one. It says card number 1, beautiful backing of the cards, red and blue ink on top of gray stock. Theodore S. Ted Williams was one of the greatest sluggers of all time. Was born on August 30th, 1918 in San Diego, California. He was the older of 2 brothers. Ted took a liking to all kinds of sports while he was in grade school. He was a fast runner, had keen eyesight, and possessed excellent coordination. By the time he reached the 7th grade, baseball had become his main athletic interest. And there is it says all cards. Let's see here. All cards developed, I guess, by E. Mimey, and copyright F.H. Fleer, printed in USA. Ted Williams cards, these are all artistic impressions, perhaps of some photographs, but they are surely painted on for us to see. The front of the card is gorgeous, too, with the Ted Williams facsimile or cursive inside of a baseball superimposed on top of a bat in the bottom corner. Babe Ruth makes an appearance in card number 2. Interestingly, playing, working on the bat the same way as card number 1 with Ted with his friends. So Ted's playing baseball, Ted's sliding, learns the fine points. Ted's fame spreads. Ted turns professional. Card number 6 features him in a pinstriped San Diego Seals uniform. From mound to plate, Ted was one of the few professional athletes to start his career in his own hometown. In the summer of 1936, he entered organized baseball with the San Diego Padres. Having been a first-rate high school pitcher, Ted was mostly used as a pitcher at first. However, the manager decided that Ted was not cut out for pitching. Instead, he played Williams in the outfield so that he could play regularly. This gave the club an advantage of his long distance clouding. Ted hit 271 that season. And the bottom of the cards, again, a presumption of that there's a red box there that you're going to get Ted Williams to sign your card. But further on, we learn in card number 9 that there's actually some biographical information in there. Card number 9 also features Eddie Collins, who was a GM with Pittsburgh, Boston. I guess it says he was a scout. No, he's a GM for Boston and visited Ted in San Diego. And it says Williams and Eddie Collins, his discoverer, chat prior to the opening of the 1947 World Series. So some anecdotes in there. Ted's hunting. Ted is first spring training with Jimmy Fox. So there are some legends in here other than Ted, of course, Babe Ruth and Jimmy Fox, all that stuff. I find card number 17 to be gorgeous. It's a nice young Ted Williams from 1941. A lot of historic and classic photos in here that have been touched up with paint. Ted, 42, goes off to war there, his naval training. Ted comes back. Ted again in his cockpit, and Ted wearing his Navy uniform. So eye chart sharpshooter 1945 is card number 24. Ted again in his cockpit in 1945. So a lot of stuff in there. There's the Williams shift card 28, which doesn't feature Ted Williams depicted, but it shows the shift that I believe Lou Boudreau attempted on Teddy Ballgame. And Ted Ballgame could hit balls anywhere he wanted to. So lots of fun stuff in there. Card number 33 has him showing just his grip. And there's a card 36 which shows Ted Williams bunting, which is pretty darn interesting if you ask me. And on and on and on and on. Ted wearing some nice Northwest Pacific Coast grunge wear in card 39 with Joe Cronin. And then down to card, let's get to the end here, right? Because we are getting to the end. And card 80 is Ted's goals for 1959. And it's a picture of Ted looking at a picture of Ted. And Ted becomes a 20-year man May 30th, 1959. He hopes to pass the following milestones in the 1959 season. So this is what he hopes to do. 500 home runs, he needed 18. 2,000 walks, he needed 109. 2,600 hits, he needed 113. 1,100 extra base hits, he needed 52. 1,800 RBIs, he needed 76 at that point. And 4,800 total bases, he was in need of 230. And in the bottom, it says Ted admires portrait of himself presented by fans in Baltimore. So that's card number 80. That's the 1959 Fleer. This would not be the last time we heard from Fleer in baseball cards, of course, and this certainly would not be the last time we heard from Fleer in 1959. So 1959, Ted Williams Fleer baseball cards for your viewing and listening pleasure.